or actually I should say as a business owner, was that in that desktops as a service model that I built, it was not multi-tenant. So it did not give me a single point of equipment on the Artisan side. I'd have to spin up a new set for every client every single time, whether it was a 3-user set or whether, meaning for 3 end users of my MSP. And I went through, and I failed at this. I failed miserably at this. We succeeded massively for, I'd say, 30 and above. But anything, I tried to do this with a 3-user client on my first swing, and I couldn't have I couldn't have missed the ball more, because we went in trying to do some of this stuff, and the price point was just a killer, and then we kind of failed on the technology side. But I don't think, I told one of the guys here that fail just means first attempt in learning. So I definitely got better and we matured. So I wanted to share some of that with everybody here. So a couple things that we're going to try and cover today, and this is kind of a summary, so I'm going to skip around as I normally do with you guys that have gotten used to listening to me. How to take advantage of that growing DaaS market, how to build your DaaS practice using a replicatable system. Not going to go into too much detail here today. We are going to have a demo and some other stuff that we're going to show you with Craig. But then also how to leverage Artisan infrastructure as a service to bring new tech to market fast. And I know some of you that are on this webinar today or are listening later, I know you're tech people, I get that. But we also have a lot of people that are listening to this webinar that are very, I don't want to say low level, but they're not tech people. They're on the sales side, they're on the operations side, and they're trying to add market to their MSP or to their IT service provider practice or to their VAR practice. So just keep that in mind. It's hard to craft a presentation for everyone, and if there's things that you want to know about DaaS that you feel I either skipped over and you want to come back to, fill out the form at the end. Or if you feel that there's things that you want to get more in depth on, fill out the form at the end. We will custom build something for you, and we will work with you one-on-one. So just keep that in mind. Okay, we kind of went over who I am. So I want to make sure that everybody here understands exactly what DaaS is from your standpoint. And this is kind of a general piece that I actually just pulled off the internet, but DaaS offers a remote desktop architecture that is hosted by a third-party cloud service provider. That is you guys, right? And it's typically based on a monthly subscription fee model. So you should be charging per seat per month or per client in a bundle per month. If you were on my Keep It Sticky webinar 2 weeks ago today, you saw a couple of my sample presentations. And if you have not seen that, go back and watch it. It's on our website, and I'll show you the URL when we're done here. But you should have everything packaged to your client in a per seat model, either for just desktops or per seat model for the entire solution or full package for a number of seats. Now, how I pitched mine, usually, especially at the end, meaning the first part of 2015, so 6 to 9 months ago, I was pitching, we go in, we're going to offer you a DaaS architecture for 50 seats. It's going to be capable up to 50 seats. Depending, and the one presentation I showed a couple weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago actually, was 43 seats is what they actually had. We were making it so they could support a max of 50, and we sold that for a flat rate. And we did everything, all-inclusive managed services, on-site, firewalls, access points, everything, all-inclusive, one flat price, and we included that. So exactly what I had in that first phrase, DaaS offers a multi-subscription fee model. DaaS utilizes a multi-tenancy architecture, which means that a single instance of an application is served to multiple users at one time, which is still your terminal server model. It's not, and I guess where DaaS differs from VDI and where VDI is challenging, that's your virtual desktop infrastructure, is VDI basically builds a little VM for every single user, versus where DaaS is basically terminal server. Most of us that are on this call understand what a terminal server is how you have multiple user sessions on a single server. So it's still slightly multi-tenant, but it's not multi-tenant from a multiple client standpoint. It's multiple users. So just keep that in mind. And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring to the table here at Artisan. And then the service provider is responsible for managing their cloud and underlying architecture, infrastructure, and the level of service can vary depending on the company needs. So that's your DaaS model, and that could not be a better fit for those of you that are managed service providers on the call. Actually, anybody that's reselling any type of technology service, that could not be a better fit for you as a company. And you think about, how do we stay sticky? How do we keep clients for a long time? How do we get recurring revenue out of them? DaaS could not be a better fit for all of those things, because once they're on your stuff, it's hard for them to leave, and they pay you monthly on a long-term deal. So just keep that in mind. So you heard me mention VDI a little bit earlier, but really, DaaS versus VDI is a big, big factor because, and I chose to go the DaaS route almost exclusively. I think we had one VDI client that we weren't even, it wasn't even your traditional VDI like VMware View or a couple of the other ones, or actually I know Microsoft RDS now has their VDI scenario. But that was all geared towards, I basically was putting standalone Windows 7 desktops in the cloud and letting people RDP to them, so that's not even your traditional VDI. We only had a couple clients that wanted it that way. But the whole thing with VDI versus DaaS is it's all about resources. So when you have resources, your monthly cost skyrockets, or your per instance cost skyrockets. And doing some research on some of these pieces for today's webinar, I was finding various pieces of information on VMware View and some other applications that were basically saying just for the licensing alone, they were coming up to $200 per seat. Now, some of that's per year, but it's pretty expensive and it gets pretty pricey really quick. And that's only for the software licensing, not to consider the expense of what do you have to actually put it on, meaning a VDI or a little VM for every single user that you want on the network. So if you get to 100 users, it gets really expensive really fast. One of the downfalls, I think, of your DaaS scenario is potentially the permissions and security piece. If you have clients that are needing or single tenancy because of security or compliance pieces, that's your medical, your dental, potentially your financial advisor, depending on where they all stand with that, you're far better off with VDI because they're all in standalone infrastructures. But you can also do a private DaaS scenario for each one of those, and you eliminate your security. Now, one of the things that I found in my MSP is in the last, I'd say, 5 years of me working there or running that company, end users that are needing compliance had zero appreciation of the fact that they should be paying more for compliance. They were expected to be lumped in with everybody else from a price standpoint, but they wanted all the same features. And it often came to, well, we don't need to worry about that. We'll just worry about that if we get audited. And I had multiple financial advisors that would say that, and we ended up basically making them sign a sign-off form. And I will say that was a big deal for us. As soon as somebody actually, they had to sign off on saying, TechSquad is no longer liable for any information breach on our network. Not like we were necessarily liable, but we were making them sign off on it anyway. It kind of made them look up and be like, wait, what do you mean? This is a real thing that could happen? Absolutely it is, and you could be hit with a massive fine, especially if it's a HIPAA fine or something like that. And then the third thing on here with DaaS versus VDI is your scenario of price point. I mentioned that a little bit to start. Your licensing prices plus your resource pricing, your IaaS pricing, is going to be dramatically higher for VDI. So just keep that in mind. There's always a fit for VDI somewhere depending on what they need, but the price point usually outweighs the benefits in my experience. And keep in mind, anybody that has questions, feel free to send them in. Zach is definitely taking notes, and we will be taking a Q&A at the end. So next step is, why should I put DaaS into my MSP product suite? And I think most of this really almost answers itself when you start thinking about it. But and it almost seems like why is every MSP not leading with desktops as a service, leading with cloud? Some of that is the fear of the cloud. But I will tell you from my experience, if you have a mentality in your company that we are going to be a cloud firm and our clients are going to be in cloud, they become far less against it. We had that mentality at TechSquad, and we pushed people to the cloud. And once you get them over the hump of we're worried about it, and they start to understand, most of it's an education and a value building scenario. So if you educate them properly, it really becomes a no-brainer. And I will tell you, I'm talking to, between our whole sales team, we're probably talking to 100 MSPs a week here at Artisan Infrastructure. And I would be willing to bet 80, probably 75% are still not using cloud desktop scenarios. Yes, they're doing cloud, but they consider cloud to be Dropbox or cloud to be hosted Exchange. That's not necessarily only cloud. So every MSP, in my opinion, should be leading with a managed services offering that highlights desktops as a service. Obviously, it's not a perfect fit for everybody, but what we're going to offer today is really going to help you get closer to that and talk about that. So that one-to-many approach, it gives you the ability to have all your clients in a single place, all of them in a single pane of glass, all of them so you can look at and manage them in a very effective, secure, high available manner. So keeping that, and that kind of goes into number 2, that utilization of central management. Being able to have your clients all at one place makes it so you can manage them really, really well, especially with a channel-only infrastructure provider like us. It becomes almost impossible not to put this in. And it goes into security controls. Being able to, and I will tell you, my largest MSP client at TechSquad had, I think they started with us in 2010, and in 5.5 years, and we had started out with 50 users in the cloud, and in 5.5 years, they never had a virus outbreak. They never had a user console in the cloud have a problem. And when you think about how few tickets that relates to compared to the normal desktop, it's almost mind-blowing from a standpoint of, oh my God, I have this much stuff, and I'm putting these many tickets, or this much work into my tickets. The security controls of managing that and not having to deal with a client, and even if they do, you wipe them out and you wipe their user profile and build them a new one. And everything else is, it's so easy to do, and it's so easy to manage. It becomes almost second nature to your team. My largest client had the fewest tickets of all of our clients. And there's something to be said for that. And then it also helps you move your clients to the cloud. The more you move them to the cloud on your infrastructure, not somebody else's cloud. Keep in mind, we talked about selling sticky 2 weeks ago, and we're going to talk in a month on how to lose your MSP in 2 years or less. The way to do these things is to get them off of your stuff and get them onto somebody else's infrastructure that's easy. And I hate to knock on Office 365, but I'm going to say that. For us as a service provider, yes, it's a way to get the client on a hosted exchange, and it's a way to get them on it really easily. But if you put them on hosted exchange and everything else Microsoft, or everything else Amazon, or whoever you're going to, they essentially no longer become your client, and you're nothing more than a gateway to them leaving. So just keep that in mind as you're moving the client to the cloud. Make sure to keep them sticky. Make sure to do that. Keeping clients sticky is the key to long-term success in your business and long-term value, especially when you're building your profitability models and all those kind of things. So, okay, I'm going to talk a little bit now about our new offering that we're going to be that we're building here at Artisan Infrastructure, and we're calling it Artisan Turnkey Cloud Workspace Suite. And I have with me Craig Medland. He's our Cloud Workspace Suite Partner Support and Operations Director. Craig, are you on? Hopefully you made it.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm great, Chris.
Good. So tell everybody that's listening today a little bit about what Cloud Workspace Suite is and why. Let's start. In fact, I'm gonna throw this into probably 3 questions. Let's start out with what exactly it is, and then I'm gonna hit you with why they should look into using that outside of what I've already highlighted.
So from where I sit, Chris, and thank you very much for the introduction, what the Cloud Workspace does is enables MSPs to seamlessly transition their clients, their apps, and their legacy IT in the cloud via the Cloud Workspace Suite, which is essentially a software-defined data center-based Windows automation and orchestration solution. So that Windows automation orchestration solution enables the delivery of the DaaS desktop to end users.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so why do you think, outside, are there any other reasons outside of what I kind of highlighted why you feel an MSP should put in a desktops as a service practice? Obviously, I think I hit on some of the high level stuff and some of the reasons from my standpoint as a former MSP CEO. But anything on your side that I missed?
Oh, absolutely. There's not that you didn't miss much. So from my point of view, what the Cloud Workspace Suite allows an MSP to do is to automate their Windows provisioning. And what that allows an MSP to do is not only to automate it, but means that there's more rapid provisioning, and it means that you can increase your onboarding velocity, which speaks to that stickiness, Chris, that you were talking about earlier. So what you want to be able to do as quickly as possible is spin up that Cloud Workspace suite for those end users. And because of our automation layer and our orchestration layer, you can do that in a matter, literally in a matter of minutes. So you can get new clients and new users on almost immediately, and then you can layer in the additional functionality like additional line of business applications or the data migration. So that's key point number one. Rapid provisioning, increase the onboarding velocity equals stickiness. The Cloud Workspace Suite, you mentioned that central pane and glass. So what that does is allows you to manage all, for an MSP, all of their virtual data centers, because you may end up having several. You may end up having a virtual data center, say at Artisan in Kansas City, and then another one in Artisan Austin. You can manage both of those Cloud Workspace virtual data centers from the single pane of glass. The single pane of glass also allows you to do some right sizing. It allows you to manage those resources and make sure you're only delivering the resources. When I talk about resources, I'm talking about vCPU, RAM, and storage that the client and the end users absolutely need. So you can right size. It's also very customizable. So what that means is you can also create your own templates specific to different lines of businesses that you'll be onboarding. So you can create a Cloud Workspace suite that leverages the power of the hypervisor, in this case vSphere, templates that are specific to, say, law practices or real estate firms. So that's part of what allows you to spin up an end user environment in a matter of minutes, because you can create templates that are sitting in cache, or you might want to call a bullpen, just waiting to be assigned to a new client. And also, I think there's a very low barrier to adoption, because really the Cloud Workspace platform, it's really just an overlay over vSphere, and it's an overlay over Windows Server. So you don't need to learn a lot of new technology here. So a lot of you are probably very familiar with PowerShell, for example. Well, when we create that virtual data center for you, or actually I should say the software-defined data center for you, part of what you'll be able to do is leverage your existing PowerShell scripts. Now there's some do's and don'ts there, because we don't want you to step on any of our automated tools, but within some very generous boundaries, you'll still be able to leverage and use a lot of what you're already doing in your backends now. And then we also give you a lot of control to customize your workflow. So the management portal allows you to customize access based on where the individual is delivering the support to your clients and end users, where that individual is sitting in your workflow. So if you have help desk versus second or third line support folks, you can limit the access they have to the management portal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. So, kind of what I heard you say there is, they can, whether you're an Artisan client yet or not, and we have some of both on the call today. So we have some that are Artisan infrastructure as a service clients today, and then we have a good chunk that are actually not Artisan clients at all, looking to potentially get educated about desktops as a service. This is something that you can actually, we can build in the Artisan data center, and you can not only put your desktops as a service practice in your single pane of glass, but then right next to it, you could have your native infrastructure as a service, just stand up servers if you need to also. Is that, I understood that right? Just so I'm clear?
Yeah, I think really what you're talking about there, Chris, is a hybrid environment. So what we, the nature of a remote desktop session host, so that's the end user desktop that the end user interacts with, that is spun up off of a virtual Windows server, either 2008 or 2012 R2 Windows servers. But you can configure your environment so that you can, those end users, those desktops essentially become a front end, so that those end users can still get access to, say, on-premise servers or other non-Cloud Workspace servers if those servers have applications or data that need to be accessed by that Cloud Workspace user.
Yeah, cool. So it's kind of goes along when I'm talking with our sales team and some of our people here. I kind of talk about Artisan as the bring what you want mentality. So it kind of goes right down to Cloud Workspace Suite, which is cool as well. So, okay, well let's just to stay on time here. It's about 20 after the hour, and I try and wrap these up around 40:45. So Craig, we're going to go ahead and give you control. Craig is going to do a full demo of the actual Cloud Workspace Suite. And I think, Craig, let's just go through, some basic functionality, and then what we're going to be doing at the end of the call, we're just going to show some basics today, so we don't take up a lot of time. But at the end of the call today, we're going to give everybody the opportunity to have their own custom demo. If they want that, we'll have a form that you can sign up. So, Craig, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to go on mute so you can fire away. Let's just try and keep this around 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes max, 10 to 15 max.
Got it. Excellent. So
Okay.
I trust everyone can see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can, or at least I can.
Excellent. So what everyone is seeing is, and actually I'm delivering this demo from my own Cloud Workspace suite. But what you're seeing right now is I'm logged into our single pane of glass, our management portal. This is a web app that serves up the front end to the different Cloud Workspace virtual data centers. So this is a demo environment, so it's branded fairly generically, the Cloud Workspace. If you sign up for a Cloud Workspace virtual data center, you'll have the ability to customize this branding at this level. So this is the dashboard view. You'll notice down the left-hand side, this is what we call the action pane. The top half of the action pane contains elements and tasks that you manage or want to manage at the top level of the virtual data center. And then when you want to manage individual clients, you will use the action pane elements at the bottom left-hand corner. So in terms of the highlights here, when you sign up for Cloud Workspace, you become, in our vernacular, a master partner, but then you can also have the ability to sign up sub-partners. So if you want to effectively delegate some of the onboarding and some of the routine maintenance to a trusted partner, you can do that. And they will also get their own access to a slimmed down, a trimmed down version of the Cloud Workspace suite. The view that you'll spend most of the time in is the client view. So you can see here we have a number of demo clients. So if I wanted to drill down into one particular client like Delaware Timber, I can click on the Cloud Workspace icon, and you'll notice then the green bar focuses is now pushed to the bottom of the action pane, and we're now in the user's view so that I can see all the users that I've configured for that particular client. We've talked a lot about to this point the single pane of glass. One thing we probably haven't emphasized enough is the ease of use. So again, what we're trying to do here is abstract some of the complexity away from, in terms of doing things like creating new users, creating clients, adding applications. I think here's a good example of that. If I wanted to add a new client for Delaware Timber, it would be as simple as clicking on this this button and adding that user's name. You can customize, you can enter the full first name, last name, and then you can also customize the username here. And the create new user is going to happen. So the blue bar indicates the task request, green indicates completed successfully. And so if I was to scroll down, we see now that Tim Demo is a user that's been added. Yellow indicates the status, which means that user is still being added to that particular Windows server, but in a matter of minutes they'll get access to their Cloud Workspace suite. But it's really that simple. So your administrators, and what this allows you to do as an MSP, is some of the actions that maybe in-house now would have to be handled by a tech at your end can now be handled by a help desk individual, because they have access to this management portal. A minute ago, I was talking about the different levels of access. If I go into the settings here, you can see all the administrators that get access to this management portal. I was also mentioning how you can control their level of access. If I go into the settings tab, I get a nice little set of checkboxes here, and you can indicate for this particular user which modules they get access to or they don't get access to. For some of the larger partners that we work with, if I was to open this tab, there literally might be 100 administrators, but out of those 100, maybe only 4 or 5 have full access to all the modules in the action pane on the left. That's important because, again, you want to fit this in a seamless way into your existing workflow, but also enable different users, empower different users, especially at the top levels of your workflow, to be able to manage new clients and add and remove users, add and remove applications. Now, what I'm actually going to do here, because I want to keep an eye on my time. Sorry, I'm going to, if I'm not careful, I'll run over. What I'm doing here is
I'll yell at you. Don't worry, Craig. I'll keep you in line. Don't worry.
What I will do here is show you the provisioning, just to show you how easy it is. If we were to provision a new user or a new client, the first thing we do just would be to enter all the business level information. Then here's where it gets really interesting. Here's where you actually customize the environment. And part of customizing the environment is giving that Cloud Workspace user a unique login identifier. So typically here, here's where you want to take advantage of some of the power of the Cloud Workspace suite. You know, our name, Artisan Infrastructure, is kind of a long one, so you can spell that out if you want, but you could do something like, you could really shorten that. So when users are logging in, they just have a very simple login to identify and to remember. Now, earlier I mentioned and about managing multiple data centers. So the first thing you're going to do when you're spinning up this new client is you're going to decide which data center that new Windows server is going to be provisioned at. So that's an advantage, because if you have partners or clients in different geographic areas, you're probably going to want to provision them on the virtual data center that's closest to their physical location. So you have the ability then to manage different data centers. Now each data center then will come configured with different set of templates. The first step in the process of choosing which template to spin up or create the client from is deciding which version of Windows you want to provision that new client on. 2002 and 2012 R2. Now, sometimes this decision is based on the line of business apps that they want to deploy. So say they have some old CRM apps that only run on 2008, then you probably want to choose 2008. But more often we find that that's a decision based on the end user experience. So that 2008 R2 Windows Server will deliver you a Windows 7 like end user experience, whereas a 2012 R2 will deliver you a Windows 8 like end user experience. And then once you've chosen that platform, you'll then have a series of templates to choose from. So these are templates that you can create and customize yourself. We'll show you how to do that. It's basically what you're doing is in the hypervisor, you're creating a template of that Windows server with the version of Windows and all the line of business apps that you want to provision as part of that template. And we'll show you how to do that. It's basically sys-prepping that Windows server in what I like to call a Cloud Workspace friendly way. So we have our own unattended XML file that we'll show you how to use, as well as our own sysprep syntax. So you have the ability here to customize those different templates. And then once we choose it, then what you're going to be doing is you're just going to finish the process, and you're going to create the users that that client needs to go live with. But you can add users or remove users basically at any point of the process. We also give you the ability to do a bulk upload. So if you have a client with, say, 50+ users, there's a really simple Excel form that you fill out, and you'll automatically create those 30 or 40 or 50 users. And then once you've done that, those are essentially the 3 steps. Create the business, choose the login identifier, the data center, the template, and then add the accounts, and then click go. And then what the automation engine is going to do is it's going to reach out to the data center. So I'm now going to go in the data center view, and it's going to find the template that you've chosen. If there's a version of that template in cache, as we like to say, so that template is sitting in the bullpen, sitting in the parking lot, whatever analogy you want to use. When I say sitting in the bullpen or sitting in the parking lot, it's actually a Windows server sitting in Active Directory with its own OU, just waiting to be assigned or mapped to a client. And so our automation engine will automatically detect that request. We'll reach out from the GUI through our API to the management servers, the infrastructure servers at your virtual data center. Then we'll reach out to, in the case here, Artisan, we'll reach out to vSphere and tap vSphere on the shoulder and say, hey, here's the server that we're going to map or assign to this client. A set of PowerShell scripts kick into gear and customize that Windows server for that new client. So once that client spun up, you can go into a reporting section. So if you wanted to see some of the attributes, the characteristics of that particular client, you can go into the master client view, one of my favorite views, and you can see all the attributes for that particular client, everything from all the business information that you've entered to the gateway address, to the server connection name, and then probably just as importantly from an end user / billing / compliance point of view, what apps have been installed or uninstalled, and then what users have been created or or removed, as well as their application profiles. If you're curious about looking, I think I mentioned off the top that there's multiple pathways to get to achieve the same task. If I wanted to, for example, look at the profile of an individual user, I just bounce back into the Users tab, click on the Actions drop-down, and I'm going to go into settings for that particular user, and I can see which applications are enabled or not enabled for that particular user. So off the top, Chris, and I think you did a good job emphasizing the ease of maintenance, ease of use. Remember, all these users are connecting to a single Windows server that is then supporting their remote desktop session hosts. So when you install an app, you just need to do that once on the server, and then when you're in this user settings module, if you're clicking or unclicking a particular application, the only thing that you're doing there is toggling access to the desktop shortcut for that application on and off. You're not actually installing or uninstalling, so you just do it once, but then you can manage access through the users module, or if you go into the applications module, because here's where you would add new applications for that user. So you can pick from a catalog of applications, which you'll be able to in the newest release, which is coming out very shortly later this month. You'll be able to customize the view. So this is our default catalog. So this has probably over 1,500 titles that have been certified to work in a terminal server environment. So you don't necessarily, most clients certainly won't need to choose from 1,500 apps, but in a future release, again later this month, you'll be able to customize that catalog at a partner level. So once you've chosen, so let's just randomly click ePreserver, you can enter in the version of ePreserver that you'll be installing, and then you simply add the application and it appears in this application list. If there's a license required, it'll prompt you to upload the license file, which is usually a text file. If you wanted to see, for example, 7-zip, correct? Yep.
I just, so what I'd maybe like to see and show everybody, this to me is something that's kind of one of my favorite features. Why don't we show them an actual live workspace for that client we just created, and then maybe publish an app and then have it install on that workspace so we can have them see that. And I think that's that's a pretty powerful scenario, especially if considering you're on your single pane of glass. So we're going to actually take that user that we just added, and then we're going to publish that desktop, and then we're going to publish a actually application for them to use on their desktop. So let's say like Acrobat Reader or something like that.
Sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. So there's different ways that an end user can access. There's three main ways an end user can access their Cloud Workspace. We have a Windows launcher, which is basically a pre-configured RDP connection. That's what most users use most of the time. What you're seeing here is our HTML5 portal. This is our default address, portal.cloudworkspace.me. That can be customized. So every partner that signs up and gets a virtual data center gets a source code for this page. So they can host this page and they can brand it as well as customize the URL. Going to enter the
which is really, really valuable from an MSP standpoint, right? So then in my MSP, I called it MKE Cloud. So you can call it whatever you want, and you can either keep the Cloud Workspace piece, which is very nice and non-branded, right? So it can be whatever. And if you even look at this sheet right here, or at this single standalone page, if you just put your logo on, your MSP logo on here right next to Cloud Workspace, it would look really damn good. It would look very, very custom and very much, this is my stuff, and your end users are none the wiser. Get the pun? None the wiser? No, nobody's laughing.
Very smooth, Chris.
Bad joke. Okay, keep going, Craig.
So here we are. So we're logged in through the HTML5 portal. So this is an access point, especially useful if your end user is, say, visiting another business or visiting a friend, and they just want to quickly check email, or they want to make a quick edit to a file. They can log in anywhere, anytime through the HTML5 portal. So I mentioned, so there's the desktop. So we'll return to applications in a second. Bear with me here. So here is, I've opened up their shared spaces. Here's the shared drive, H drive, which is the default drive for the corporate level info. So you can manage through the management portal. You can go into folders here. So again, I'm still looking at Delaware Timber here, and I'm going to add a new folder. So you can see all the folders that have been pre-populated, and there's what it looks like from an end user point of view.
That gives them, yeah, just their custom H drive, or their mapped network drive as the MSPs see it. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Right, and then for personal information, there's also what we call a Z drive. So if individuals have files that typically files that they might be working on in draft, they could then store it in their Z drive as well too. So we give the end user the ability to interact with the shared corporate files as well as their personal files. So let's return to applications for a second here. So you see this end user currently just has access to Acrobat Reader. So if I go back into the user's view, and I'm going to go back, I'm going to find that user 6. So you can see here green means that user is online. So you see the status, you see the server that it's connected to. Because of course for a larger client, you might actually have several terminal servers. So one of the things that we offer through this management portal is the ability to create additional servers, whether they're terminal servers or data servers. So if I go into my actions pane and I go into settings, then I see that for this particular user, they currently have access to Acrobat Reader. So why don't we disable that and enable 7-zip and save. So again, I get the blue that confirms the action, and in a split second here, the green confirms that our automation service, which detected the request, has completed the request. So if I go back to the desktop, so you notice that the Acrobat desktop shortcut has gone away. Now, of course, I would have expected the 7-zip to appear by now. Just want to make sure.
This is what happens on a live demo.
Ah, there we go.
There we go.
Well, yeah, exactly, Chris. This is usually what, at the point I like to say, well, you've heard the old fable, the old wives' tale about the cobbler's children, the shoemaker's children have the worst shoes. Well, this is our demo environment.
Exactly.
But you can see, there we go. We just had to be a little bit patient, and 7-zip is now enabled. So if I double click on that, I now have access as an end user to 7-zip.
Yeah, and it's dramatically different than, those of us that have obviously managed Windows servers know what it's like to try and manage an application like that across all the different desktops. You look at what this becomes for your end users, and even for, let's just take it as far as your MSP help desk and what it looks like. Okay, you have a client that wants to install a new, they want to install 7-zip instead of WinZip, or who the hell even uses WinZip anymore? But I think you know what I meant. But they want to install 7-zip. It becomes that simple to push it out to all their users, and they just have access to it. So it's pretty cool. So okay, Craig, I'm probably going to wrap you up here. Do you have any other things that you want to see? And then we got a bunch of questions coming in. So I want to get enough time so we get to all these questions. Do you have anything else that you want to show everybody? I think you did a really great job there, and it really gives a good example.
Thank you. So just can I? 3 quick things. So I mentioned about giving you multiple paths to accomplish the same task. If you have a help desk person that needs access to the server, you don't have to give them any tech level credentials. You can just give them, if they have an access to the connect to server module, they can connect directly to the server here. If that particular client needs additional servers spun up, we can see here that this client, Delaware Timber, is created with a single terminal server / data server. So that's the default configuration. Spinning up additional servers, whether they be secondary TS servers or dedicated data servers, is literally as easy as picking the virtual machine template. So this is the template that lives in the hypervisor, and then in the Cloud Workspace automation engine, which type of machine it is, and then the machine size. It's as simple as that. And then I was mentioning about the hybrid cloud option. So here's where you can customize the firewall rules for this client. So you have an internal Cloud Workspace firewall, as well as your external Artisan firewall. So you can change and give this Cloud Workspace client named Delaware Timber access to Windows servers that sit outside of the Cloud Workspace.
Awesome. Anything else? Otherwise, we got questions.
Nope. I'm good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Craig, this one I think is for you because I don't understand it so clearly. This is from Brent. Can you utilize case map and text map in Cloud Workspace? Craig's stumped too.
Yeah, what I do is yeah. So I'm my first inclination is to go into the application master catalog to see, because my first inclination is that's an application.
Well, I think he's actually talking about, no, I think he's talking about text mapping, which is a Windows Server feature. In fact, let's move on to the next. I know we have a comment from somebody else, but Brent, can you give us a little more detail on that? I think both Craig and I are confused by that. Okay, so here's another question we have from Kevin. How would this work if a client has an existing Active Directory?
I think that's a very good question, Kevin. So you have a couple options and alternatives there. What some of our partners do is if they have a client that has an existing Active Directory, what we can do is, and we do support Active Directory trusts. Now the challenge there is this is a multi-tenant environment, so Active Directory trusts by default only happen at the top level. So what sometimes you would want to do then, and this is where the single pane of glass really is helpful, is you can actually create a dedicated Cloud Workspace environment for that particular client. So you can do an AD trust between the Active Directory supporting that VDC or being a backbone for the Cloud Workspace VDC and that existing Active Directory. So that's one option.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer. And you know, Craig, from my standpoint, here's another thought on that. I actually had an MSP that I was talking to a couple weeks ago from Louisiana, and one of their things was, hey, we got a client that's got 30 different offices. Should we put a backup domain controller on every site? And my answer to that, you know, obviously that comes more to how you're managing your clients and how you're dealing with that. But my recommendation would be no. You want them to live in the cloud. Even, you know, because everything is going to be running off of the cloud side, off of Cloud Workspace, or even off of infrastructure as a service in that scenario. And all you're doing in that piece is actually putting a lot of additional pieces in place. And even if they did have login credentials, number one, their login credentials are probably going to be cached with Kerberos. So that's going to be one thing. And then number two, you'd have to be if you're going to actually make those people functional with that backup domain controller on site, you'd have to be syncing all their data and syncing all of the map network drives and everything down to that, and it just becomes almost, what's the point? So to me, steer away from that. And Craig, do you have any other opinions on that, or is that just a yes, you agree with me?
No, I would totally agree with you. I think that's the right perspective, Chris. I mean, the way I look at it, certainly I understand that there's an overhead, that there's an effort up front to migrate users from their current on-premise solution to the cloud, but I think that's part of the value, and that's what Artisan offers in terms of a fully redundant environment. Once you get
not only that, we also have our Move as a Service product. There's a webinar about a month ago now that talks specifically about Move as a Service. So I don't mean to steal you guys, Craig, your thunder on that one, but we have a lot of clients that are utilizing that or aren't even familiar with the Move as a Service. We will move all of your workloads to Artisan infrastructure IaaS and then help you integrate into Cloud Workspace at the same time, and that'll be a no-charge type offering. So keep that in mind as you go. That's one of the values, just like you said, Craig.
Yeah, and the one thing I would emphasize too, Chris, because maybe I'm kind of trying to think a couple steps ahead here, some of the questions. So what you're seeing here is the management portal, but if you sign up for a Cloud Workspace, you will also get tech-level credentials. Those are domain or enterprise level credentials, so you can actually log into the platform servers. You can actually log in directly to each of the client servers. So you have a fair amount of ability there, because again, we're like an overlay over Windows. You still have an ability to log in and do things directly on those, perform different maintenance or operational tasks directly on those servers.
Okay, great.
Because
great.
I suspect,
okay.
I suspect. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, that's fine. So we got some more clarification from Brent that CaseMap and TextMap are actually applications, and they are it's basically law firm software. So what he's stating is, can we, basically, I'm going to define, I think, what he means, or translate, I guess. I think what he's saying is, can you upload custom applications to your own Cloud Workspace for your MSP clients?
Yes, absolutely. So what I've done here is I'm still in the, very conveniently, I'm still in the applications module for this particular client, Delaware Timber. So say for argument's sake, Delaware Timber wanted to install that software. If you don't see it in the master list, if you don't see the master list, then you would submit an app certification form. And if you give us the binary or the executables and a license, we will install that application, if it's not already in the list, in our test environment and certify that application, and then produce an application install guide for it. And then you would, once it's published to the master application, then you would just go into this view and then find it in the menu.
Yeah, you could, and actually best case right there is a law firm software. I had a client that used best case, so you can see that in fact, I had a bunch of bankruptcy clients at my MSP, so you can see best cases in there.
There you go.
So that is a best case bankruptcy. It is a good example. That is a law firm software that was clearly added. So okay, so Brent said that was spot on, so that's good. He commented to lovely assistant Zach. And we had one other comment from somebody earlier in the webinar, from Sid, and he stated, if by VDI you mean Windows 7 or later. And realize, Sid, VDI basically means virtual desktop infrastructure that would load Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 10 licensing. And he said, so if by VDI you mean Windows 7 or later, the biggest issue is that Microsoft, specifically Microsoft Azure, doesn't include the desktop OS in the SPLA. They used to, and they don't anymore. You're spot on with that. The only way to legally provide that is for the end user to buy all the necessary licenses for VDI, and the service provider must put that user on dedicated hardware, which usually blows up the cost model. Spot on. I agree with you 100%, Sid. And I actually forgot, so I'm glad you brought that up, that Microsoft used to make desktop SPLA, and by SPLA, it's Service Provider Licensing Agreement, SPLA. They used to actually provide Windows licensing SPLA. Now they only provide Office, terminal server, that kind of stuff, and I see that Craig, you have that stuff up on the screen. So those are your SPLA stuff that you can actually do. So did you have something you wanted to comment on? I can hear your brain turning here.
So we haven't talked yet about, because we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, do we, Chris? We haven't talked about the onboarding process. So that's one of my key roles, is to help the partners on board. So there's a VDC pre-deployment guide that each partner fills out, and a key part of that guide is getting your SPLA code as well as the product keys for the different versions of Office, for example. And so those values are coded in our automation engine. So when I talked about templates being spun up, or servers being spun up from templates, so part of what our automation engine does is we'll activate that version of Windows using the SPLA and the product keys provided by the partner.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So you bring your own SPLA, and we recommend here at Artisan that you get your own SPLA as well. One of the biggest reasons you want to do that, and some cloud providers are giving you SPLA, but it's for compliancy reasons, we do not go into your VMs here. So we're able to keep a completely compliant environment by not actually auditing your VMs, and we keep them completely private and yours. So, so Sid, really great comment. You're spot on with that, because, and I completely forgot that they don't offer a monthly SPLA on the actual Windows OS licensing. So, okay, just going to kind of, Craig, so I took you off. We're back on me showing my screen again. So I appreciate your time very much. Craig, hang on. We might have a couple more questions. One other thing. So obviously everybody saw Artisan Turnkey Cloud today. Hopefully you love what you see. I can give you a very, very more detailed demo with either with myself or with myself and Craig. And you can go to that site to sign up for a personal one-on-one demo. It is just a logo and a form. So don't freak out if you don't see a lot of stuff. That is a brand new website that's coming with some other stuff. But fill out the form and I'll connect with you. It's artisandaas.com. So feel free to go out there and sign up for that. Would love to have you come on and be a part of this with us. I'm super excited to be able to offer it to the Artisan partners. I'm very proud to say this is really my first product offering here that I'm kind of building up from MSP land, and I'm excited to have it. So Craig, did you have anything else that you wanted to offer?
No, I think at this point I'm good, but I am looking forward to doing some follow-up deeper dive demos for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I really, really like it. It's pretty cool. I wish I had this at my MSP. I would have sold it sooner. So just a couple things, a couple housekeeping pieces to keep up. Our next webinar, we'll be officially launching our members-only channel academy. This is going to be one-on-one time with me, and I'm going to be bringing in specialists and experts and business builders and all kinds of different stuff that we're going to have. So this is going to be a monthly subscription type service. It's going to be available to Artisan partners and non-partners alike, but it's going to be a members-only club, how to sell cloud services, market. It's going to come with a bunch of marketing materials done for you, website templates. We're partnering with Robin Robbins. We're partnering with Chartech. We're partnering with a bunch of different people. So we got a good amount of exciting stuff that's going to come along. It's going to be called Artisan Channel Academy. You can see the website on the bottom. Right now, it's just got all that's there is webinar stuff. So keep that in mind, but that will be changing, and it probably will have its own domain name here shortly. Not probably, it will, but it's going to be launched. So a couple webinars that are coming next. 2 weeks from today, we have our official launch of Artisan Infrastructure Channel Academy. I'm on a beach next week, so right after that, I will be back here to do that. And then you heard me mention earlier, February 18th, that's, I can't count that high, but it's, I think, a month from today. How to lose your MSP in 24 months or less. That is going to specifically focus on talking about sticky again, but sticky with which products, in my opinion, you do not want to use in your MSP and which things you want to do. So that's going to be a pretty exciting one as well. So that being said, I'm going to go back to that web address again. Please feel free to sign up for a personal demo. Craig and myself, or just myself, will give that to you at artisandaas.com. Craig, want to thank you. Appreciate your time today. Look forward to continuing to work with you. And everybody have a great day and have a great week. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Artisan Channel Academy.
Great. Thank you.